Barack Obama?
Michelle Obama.
Correct! Oh my God! You want to catch you in Oh boy, all right. We asked you which is the oldest authenticated age ever for a human being. The correct answer is 122 years. A woman called Jeanne Calment, I think.
Chatham House, we really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that's your news update. Eco Africa is next, exploring ways to make education, housing, and public transport more green. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Eco Africa. Throwing bottles in the air is what makes them care at the Green Master Program in Uganda. It expands the environmental awareness of school children.
They are worrying about what is happening, but then they are having hope because of the program.
Having hope, caring about nature. Eco Africa. Next on DW.
They call for strength, yet it does not answer. The Machangara River is sick, poisoned, gasping for life. Ecuador gave nature legal rights, but the river still cries out to reclaim its voice. The Kitukara people, together with scientists, are fighting to revive it.
Global Us. In 60 minutes on DW. Their motto, killing the journalist won't kill the story. Their mission, to continue the work of their threatened colleagues together so as to protect independent reporting. Their network's name, Forbidden Stories.
When we look at the profile of reporters killed, there is always something that they have in common. They were very isolated. This is what I try to do with Forbidden Stories, is to break that isolation.
You Can't Kill the Story. Starts September 16th on DW.
If there is one message that we want to convey here at Eco Africa, is this: what is good for the environment is good for us. From the homes we live in to the public transport we use and the lessons we teach our children. If we put every environmentally responsible ideas into practice every single day, the rewards are instant. Welcome, I'm Chris Elems in Lagos, Nigeria, and joining me from Lusaka, Zambia, is Malama Mukonde.
Yes, welcome to a new edition of Eco Africa. Here's what's coming up in today's show. Collecting plastic waste to help fund cancer treatment in Libya. Why traditional cave dwellings in Spain make climate-friendly homes. and how the capital of Senegal is proving that upgrading public transport is a good investment. But we start the show in Uganda. Now, climate change, as we know, poses a serious threat to the future, a future that belongs to the younger generation. So it makes sense that they should play an active role in finding solutions. Now, that starts with educating kids about environmental issues and then encouraging them to explore their natural creativity to figure out the way forward.
The excitement is palpable. The girls are on a blindfolded fruit hunt. Using touch only raises their awareness and appreciation for the fruit. Here at PMM Girls' School, they're playing this game for the very first time. At Team Mercy too. Winning is always fun, and the game is also helping the girls learn about their environment.
Some of these species of the mangoes and the different fruits, they are soon getting extinct. And you find that when people eat them, people just throw away the seeds. Yet, for the generation to come, you might find when they'll not be there.
The game is organized by Girls for Climate Action, a Ugandan NGO that aims to motivate young people to get involved in environmental conservation efforts. Its Green Master program uses creativity and play to engage school children.
We trigger their emotions, and you find that they are worrying about what is happening, but then they are having hope because of the program, because at the end of the day, they're able to use what they can in line with what we're educating them to create change.
They can also try their hand at devising their own games to help solve environmental problems. Pupils from Kira College Butiki are visiting PMM Girls' School to present their own invention, a basketball tool game. Made from plastic trash, this innovative solution can be set up anywhere. The young designers say the program is really making a difference at their school.
The Green Master program has helped people in our school to stop littering rubbish all over, because we've been told, advised the school, and now the water sold in polythene bags of 100 has been removed from school, thanks to the Green Masters. So it is helping, because people have stopped dumping a lot of rubbish. That's it.
The young people are proud that their inventions might also help spark change in other schools.
A small bin can get at around 100 bottles. It can clean 100 bottles in the environment, which is a good idea. Whereby in a school, if we have 5 of them, we have helped to control the improper disposal in the environment by some good percentage.
Their knowledge doesn't just stay in the classroom. The teenagers are also active in their communities.
This is making it more entertaining and more interesting, and that means that very many youths are going to come in, because we know that there are energetic ones in the community, and if they take it upon themselves with all this passion, that means that it's going to solve the whole problem.
The Green Masters program, actually it's a good program because it has helped us to know about our environment. First, mostly they brought skits for the students to play, to educate those people in the villages how to improve their environment. The problem that most villagers people do is cutting down trees, which is bad. Cutting down trees, it leads to drought.
30 schools in Uganda have taken part since 2016. The program lasts for a year. At the end of it, students present their projects to a jury in the hope of winning the Green Master Challenge contest. All the participants get a certificate.
Thank you.
Ginger City's environment officer would like to see the same kind of program here too. His team often have to pick up litter in the park despite the trash cans here.
So this intervention is helping to change the mindset of the children, with the hope that what they do while in the schools or during the training, they'll be able to replicate it. And this is indeed true, because this kind of skill changes the mindset or the mentality of somebody. Even when he goes up and becomes an administrator somewhere, he will be a caring person.
Some, like Atim Mercy, clearly care already. She likes writing poetry and has already written a new one.
I think after cutting down trees, building on wetlands, releasing chemicals into water bodies, releasing poisonous gases into the atmosphere, that nature will just smile and laugh at us? No, that's not how it works. When we take care of the environment will take care of us in time. So you scratch the environment's back, the environment will scratch yours. So that's my poem.
After the fruit hunt, the students plant trees in the schoolyard, like mango or papaya. Since the start of the project, 1 million trees have been planted. One day, these trees will pass on their fruit, just as the young green masters pass on their knowledge.
You might have heard the expression, one man's trash is another man's treasure, but it can also be another man's treatment. Our next report takes us to Libya. Years of conflict have left the healthcare system in bad shape. We meet someone who has found a way to help people get medicine they urgently need while tackling plastic pollution at the same time.
He just couldn't bear it anymore. The mountains of plastic waste piling up in his town, Al-Qums, southeast of Tripoli. So retired teacher Mustafa Balhai launched an NGO that collects, compresses, and sells plastic waste for reuse in Europe. In war-torn Libya, still racked by political instability, waste management and recycling is not a priority.
If garbage is properly utilized to the fullest extent, it can generate incredible returns. I hope the state moves towards building garbage recycling plants. It's urgently needed. I hope the state provides these factories because we currently export this waste abroad, when we should be benefiting from it here in our country.
Libya creates hundreds of thousands of tons of plastic waste each year. Most of it is buried or burned, contaminating water, soil, and air. In 2018, Mustafa Belhaj launched an awareness-raising campaign amongst young people involved. Dozens of volunteers joined his waste collection effort, eager to bring about positive change.
People welcomed this grassroots initiative. For them, it was better than displays of weaponry. There was strong support for it.
With the project making the equivalent of about $4,000 every 3 months, he then came up with an even more ambitious idea to use the proceeds to fund cancer treatment. More than a decade of civil conflict and economic crisis has destroyed Libya's health services. The supply of critical medicine has dwindled, sending prices soaring. And doctors are in short supply. At the National Institute of Oncology in Misrata, the country's biggest center for cancer treatment, over 30% of the costs are covered by donations. Fatima Nasr and her daughter Farah traveled more than 1,000 kilometers to reach this hospital. The 4-year-old has been diagnosed with uterine cancer.
Unfortunately, there's a severe shortage of medication, and chemotherapy drugs are extremely expensive. There are many people who cannot afford treatment. It's a very large amount of money. The last dose of chemotherapy that I bought for my daughter cost about 2,000 euros. It's extremely difficult given our limited income.
Mustafa Belhaj's NGO, the Al-Qums Oncology Patients Association, currently recycles about 3 tons of plastic and cardboard per day. The revenue supports about 40 cancer patients each month.
I hope to open a branch in Tripoli or Misrata, these big cities. I hope it catches on and that this initiative reaches all of Libya.
helping even more vulnerable people that can't afford medical care, and cleaning up the environment at the same time.
Now to Kenya, where housing is in short supply and getting more and more expensive, especially in the capital, Nairobi. An added problem there is that there's also limited land for new buildings. So what affordable options are out there?
So this is a 20-foot container. It's a low-cube container. You can see it from this dimension. It was manufactured in 2008. So this is about 16 years old.
Africa's population is growing and urbanization is on the rise. In Kenya alone, more than 250,000 new homes are needed each year. Recycled shipping containers could help solve the housing problem and provide an alternative to building materials that take a high environmental toll, such as concrete and wood. A number of companies are now exploring their potential. Grace Adiambo buys decommissioned shipping containers and repurposes them.
After collecting our boxes from Mombasa, we moved them to our premise, which is where we are sitting at right now in Nairobi. When a client has a need, they come, make a selection. Then we follow it up with a design, and they can make their deposits. We start construction.
It's a low-cost option compared to a house of bricks and mortar.
Container homes as a solution has a number of groups as clients. Young couples who are just thinking of home ownership. Then we have people who are on leased piece of land, people who have not yet been able to buy their own spaces.
Containers have long been used as temporary housing solutions in many parts of the world. But increasingly, they are also being fitted out to service as permanent housing. The average lifespan of a shipping container is 12 to 25 years. As homes, they can be used for another 25 years or more. But if they are going to last, proper maintenance is key.
Biggest maintenance that you can do with containers, especially if you've not cladded the exterior, it would be to spray paint. So after a few years, you'd want to spray paint and just take care of the rust in case you have any that is coming up.
Affordability and flexibility are some of the main advantages of the container homes. And for many buyers, the speed with which they can be refurbished is another plus.
I didn't have time to do the traditional house. I've lived here for the past 4 years now, since 2020. This is 2024, and so far so good. It's an ideal living space. I'll advise anybody who wants to have something like this to take it head on.
But the containers do have limitations. Key factors to take into account, especially in a climate such as Kenya's, are ventilation and insulation.
This is a work in progress. Before this gypsum insulation is a styrofoam insulation. We also use rock wool insulation in some instances. We've also done electrical wiring and fitted the aluminium windows plus grilling.
Smart design is crucial, says Grace Adiambo, to ensure the structure is stable, that heat is efficiently dissipated, and there's maximum light. Finding ways to convert containers into housing options is still a work in progress, but one with potential.
Those containers look quite cozy, but could you imagine living in a cave? We go now to a corner of Spain where people have been dwelling in caves for hundreds of years. You might think that doesn't sound very attractive, but temperatures around the globe are rising as a result of human activities, such as the burning of fossil fuels. So living underground might have a number of advantages.
As the many chimneys suggest, these are no ordinary hills. These cave houses are in Guadix, southern Spain. For Mari Carmen, the cave's constant temperature of around 20 degrees Celsius is just right. She's proud of her climate-friendly home. This is the kitchen. And here, come with me. Here we have a bedroom. The master bedroom. It's a good place to sleep, cool in the summer and warm in the winter. The caves have a very big future. Central heating? No need. And that's despite the rather chilly winters here. A blessing for Mari Carmen and the 4,500 cave dwellers of Guadix. Some people think it's a hole, the kind you might find a bear in. In the past, the caves were just painted white. There was no water, no electricity. Today we have everything, thank God. It was the Moors who first dug out the clay hills over 500 years ago. Today, the caves are a highly revered cultural asset. And an inexpensive housing option. Jorge Herrero grew up in a cave house himself. Today, he digs entirely new caves and extends existing ones.
The caves are cheaper and consume much less energy. There's no need for air conditioning or heating. Caves are the essence of nature. They're unique.
For Jorge, there is no home more sustainable. Walls and ceilings alike, all is provided by nature herself, and everything he removes is recycled.
We simply dig a hole in the ground. That's why it's cheaper than building a house. We don't need a roof. The hill is the roof. In everything we excavate, in our case clay, we turn into tiles or bricks. This cave will have tiled floor made from the very material we dug out here.
The underground homes are increasingly popular, and they come in all sizes. Juan Calandria is an architect. He and the cave dweller Rafael Medina want to promote this ecological and economical form of housing.
In future, caves will become more attractive, as they have a direct impact on the fight against climate change. There is no concrete here, no steel beams, no energy-intensive materials are used at all.
This was once a small cave, but we extended it bit by bit to 250 square meters.
Very few cave dwellings have property deeds. In fact, living underground is often not regulated at all. But the region of Andalusia wants to change this, paving the way for the whole continent.
It can be transferred to other regions. After all, in Europe, there are many like this, with sedimentary rock.
Underground homes can be built wherever ground conditions allow. Homes like that of Mari Carmen, who has lived in caves from an early age. My whole life, I was born in a cave, and after I got married, we moved into this one. I wouldn't swap a cave for a normal apartment, not for anything in the world. Mari Carmen and the cave dwellers of Guadix are leading exemplary, sustainable lives in a form of housing as ancient as it is future-proof.
Traffic in Africa's capital cities can be a nightmare. The obvious way to improve the situation is to encourage people to leave their cars at home. And that means expanding public transport and making it more efficient and electric. Dakar in Senegal is showing us how it's done.
New traffic lanes, not for cars, but for a fleet of e-buses. It now takes half as long to travel across Dakar. With tickets costing between 60 and 80 euro cents, passengers welcome the new service. With other means of transport, it takes at least 2 hours to get from Dakar city to the end of the line. And another benefit is that you feel safe on this bus. The new service is really useful because it cuts the journey times. And that's really important. The electric buses are better than cars that run on diesel or petrol. There's also air conditioning in the bus and plenty of room. Dakar's ambitious Bus Rapid Transit, or BRT project, is a public-private partnership supported with international funding. After 5 years of construction, the first e-buses were launched in 2024. The fleet now numbers 121 and connects Dakar's 14 communes. It's already had a positive effect. Now many people are leaving their cars behind to take the bus and avoid the traffic jams. This is a step towards a better infrastructure in our country. The city is now also more bike-friendly. A wide cycle path has been installed that runs parallel to the new bus lane, in a move to motivate more people to switch from cars. Ibrahima Goué has been cycling in Dakar for a long time, mainly for work, and it's not without danger. You have to weave your way between the cars, which is really dangerous for cyclists. In Senegal, people drive very recklessly. That's why I'm really happy about the new cycle paths. It's much safer and easier to avoid accidents. Dakar's e-bus infrastructure is unique on the African continent. Other major cities such as Accra in Ghana and Nairobi in Kenya are keen to follow suit. There are just too many cars on the streets of Africa's big cities. Dakar's fleet of e-buses is operated by the Senegalese company Dakar Mobilité. The state has a 30% stake in the company. The new service is part of the government's strategy to reduce gridlock and pollution in the city. The e-buses significantly cut carbon emissions and improve air quality. According to studies, the e-buses enable CO2 savings of up to 59 million tonnes per year. The fully electric buses are powered by solar-generated renewable energy. Dakar Mobilité is also responsible for servicing and maintaining the fleet. In keeping with the green concept, even water usage is sustainable. To minimise the negative impact on the environment, our new car wash system works with a machine that recycles the water. This allows us to recycle up to 80% of the water used to clean the buses. The new system has also opened up job opportunities. Mamadou Diallo is one of the 750 people who have found permanent work with the BRT. After a short retraining program, he began working as a bus driver. At the end of his shift, he recharges the battery. Vehicles that run on diesel or petrol, combustion engines, cause noise and air pollution. With the e-buses, there's less of both. And that's also important for us bus drivers. They're better for our health. The new bus system is a huge improvement for the city. And this transformative shift has even been recognised by the International Institute for Transportation and Development Policy with its 2025 Sustainable Transport Award.
That's all we've got time for. Has something inspired you? Let us know. We love hearing from you. You can write to us at eco@dw.com. You can find more stories about sustainability on our continent and beyond by searching for Eco Africa Online. I am Chris Elems. Hope to see you again next time.
It's been a pleasure hosting the show this week, and also it's goodbye from me, Malama Mukonde, in Lusaka, Zambia. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you again soon.
They call for strength, yet it does not answer. The Machangara River is sick, poisoned, gasping for life. Ecuador gave nature legal rights, but the river still cries out to reclaim its voice. The Kitukara people, together with scientists, are fighting to revive it.
Global Us. In 30 minutes on DW. You want some superpower? Here we go.
Laughter is just such a strange behaviour. It's everywhere. It happens all the time.
How humour makes us strong.
C'est le deuxième cancer. 2 fois de suite, par l'environnement, le rire, l'humour, je suis guéri.
Superpower laughter. In 75 minutes on DW. Think big. Or just twice. Think ahead. Or with focus. Think outside the box. Or on your feet. But always remember to think for yourself. We are at your side.
DW News was incredibly loud.
That this is very difficult.
Providing you with free information. DW, made for minds. It really couldn't be simpler. Watch the latest news while simultaneously learning German with Kurz und Leicht. Check out 3 current news events in subtitled videos. Challenging German words are explained, quick and easy, short and sweet. Find us on dw.com, Kurz und Leicht, and social media. Video news for learning German, Kurz und Leicht. Do you know which of these 3 industries has the highest CO2 emission rates? Would you have guessed that it's concrete? Transforming business delivers answers in a nutshell. Figure out what's the real New Deal and what's just greenwashing. Watch now on YouTube.
This is DW News live from Berlin. An Israeli airstrike hit southern Gaza's main hospital. That's according to the territory's Hamas-run civil defense agency. Gazan health officials say at least 15 people are dead, including several journalists, after the strike on Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis. Israel denies intentionally targeting reporters. Also coming up, Yemen's Houthi leadership says Israeli airstrikes on the capital Sana'a have killed 6 people. The attack comes days after the Houthis launched missiles at Israel. And Germany's Vice-Chancellor Lars Klingbeil is in Kyiv for talks on how Berlin can best support Ukraine. Klingbeil says reliable security guarantees are needed to ensure lasting peace. Plus, Vietnam evacuates thousands of people from coastal areas as the strongest storm this year makes landfall after battering parts of southern China. I'm Gerhard Elfers. Welcome to the program. Gaza's civil defense agency says at least 15 people have been killed in an Israeli strike on a hospital in Khan Yunis. The health ministry there, which is controlled by Hamas, says 2 strikes hit Nasser Hospital, the largest hospital in the south of the Strip, claiming 1 missile struck moments after the first, when rescue crews had arrived. 4 Palestinian journalists are reported to be among the dead. In a statement, Israel's military says it carried out a strike in the area of the Nasser hospital, but denied intentionally targeting journalists. DW's senior correspondent Fanny Fatshah joins us now from Jerusalem. Fanny, what more do we know about this attack?
Details are still emerging about this really devastating news there from Khan Younis, from Nasser Hospital. Apparently a double attack that happened, a double Israeli airstrike, eyewitnesses report, and that the way to imagine this, there's one Israeli airstrike, so what happens usually then, of course, ambulances rush to the scene, medical workers rush to the scene, civilians rush to the scene trying to help those injured. And apparently this is exactly what happened. So that death toll that a lot of news agencies are sharing, at least 15 people killed and many injured, that death toll is likely to rise. Now, what adds to this devastating news is also the fact that at least 4 people amongst those 15 killed are journalists. One of them, a Reuters news agency cameraman. And in fact, the news agency has shared the last report that their cameraman has filed over the weekend, also covering an airstrike in Khan Younis. And all of this, of course, puts into perspective just how dangerous, how difficult the situation is for journalists on the ground who are our eyewitnesses. They are our eyes, our ears, because us journalists here in Israel, international journalists worldwide, we cannot simply enter Gaza Strip independently, only embedded. Even that comes with a lot of challenges involved. But for nearly 2 years now, there was no independent reporting possible from and about this war inside the Strip. So we rely on these journalists. But as the Gaza war continues, the number of those Palestinian journalists that rely on is getting smaller and smaller. In fact, there are various numbers out there just how many Palestinian journalists get killed, and most of them agree on one number, that it's nearly 200. And amongst those 200 Palestinian journalists killed, most of them have been killed directly through Israeli airstrikes.
Now, there was a statement already from the Israeli military. What did it say?
Very little, to be very frank or blunt, because they do confirm that there was an Israeli airstrike. They speak in singular, so they speak about one airstrike in the area near Nasser Hospital in Khan Younis, which, by the way, plays a pivotal role in Gaza Strip. It has been attacked multiple times during the past 2 years, yet partially operational hospital. And they do say they want to prevent civilian casualties on the ground. Now, they do not say who or what the exact target of this attack was. But they usually say what they've been seeing all the time when civilians were involved in Israeli airstrikes or among those killed, that they regret it and that they're looking into the reports. Now, when it comes to journalists, they have said very often that the journalists killed have been allegedly working with Hamas militants. And what I actually see on my social media feed going through the latest is one hashtag by various colleagues, both Palestinian and various international journalists, and that is the hashtag that journalism is not a crime.
Now, Israel has signaled it is pressing ahead with its offensive in Gaza City. What's the latest on the ground there?
If you really look at what is happening right now in the neighborhoods of Gaza City, you definitely have the impression that that offensive is already happening, even though, just technically speaking, the Israeli military says it's the pre-phase, so it's not the full-scale offensive yet to seize Gaza City completely. But on the other hand, the defense minister, Mr. Katz, has already given the green light last week. So what people expect here to happen is basically the formal green light to happen in the Security Cabinet by Prime Minister Netanyahu tomorrow, to press ahead, to push ahead with the offensive in Gaza City, with devastating consequences expected for people on the ground. In fact, thousands of people have been leaving Gaza City already towards the south, even before Israel has made evacuation orders. So that really tells you just how scared, how concerned people are. But a lot of people can't even leave because they do not have the means, they do not have the money to even buy shelter or buy a tent, supplies, gasoline to get towards the south. So very, very chaotic scenes is what's going to emerge further as this war continues, while at the same time here people are expected to take to the streets again massively tomorrow to trying to stop Prime Minister Netanyahu from pressing ahead, from pushing ahead and entering Gaza City, and to push for an end of the Gaza war and the release of the hostages altogether.
Fanny Fachar there from Jerusalem. Thank you very much. To Yemen now, where Houthi militias now say 6 people have been killed and dozens injured in Israeli strikes on the capital Sana'a. Israel said it targeted power plants and a military site near the presidential palace. The Houthi militant group is supported by Iran, and the airstrikes come just days after the Houthis launched a new aerial attack on Israel, which Israel says included cluster munitions.
A large explosion rips through Sana'a as the Israeli Air Force targets the Yemeni capital. Eyewitnesses say windows were shattered and the ground shook from the force of the blast. According to the Israeli Prime Minister, the intent was to send a clear message. Just days after Iran-backed Houthi militants launched strikes towards Israel.
Whoever attacks us, we attack them. Whoever plans to attack us, we attack them. I think the entire region is learning Israel's might and determination.
The Israeli army released this footage, saying it shows its fighter jets getting ready to depart for Yemen. Their destination, around 2,000 kilometres away. A complex operation that requires refuelling several times mid-flight. Israel has carried out many retaliatory strikes on the Houthi-controlled Yemeni capital over the past 22 months, in response to missiles and drones fired at Israel by the militant group. Most of those projectiles have been intercepted, but a missile shot down on Friday could signal a new threat. Israeli media reports say it contained cluster munitions, which indicate Iran is providing the Houthis with improved technology that's more difficult to intercept.
Now, for more on this conflict, let's bring in Sarah Bazubandi. She's a researcher at the Institute for Security Politics at the University of Kiel. Now, Israel claims the recent Houthi attack on its territory on Friday night included cluster munitions. That's a warhead that releases several smaller bombs. If that is true, what would this mean for this conflict that's been going on for nearly 2 years?
It's important to keep in mind that the report of use of cluster munition was also reported by Israeli officials during the 12 days of war with Iran. Towards the end of that episode, Israelis confirmed that Iran has used that class of ammunition. So it wouldn't be too surprising if the government in Iran decided to share that with the Houthis to put more pressure on Israel as the tension is escalating, as the possibility of another episode of direct confrontation between Israel and Iran, or perhaps US-Israel on one side and Iran the other side, is increasing. The Houthis have continuously received support from the Iranian government over the past years. Now, it's important also to keep in mind that the group is the so-called the last man standing in the list of Iranian-backed groups across the region. So it wouldn't be surprising if they receive more support at this point, because they are the only viable group that can fight this war on behalf of the Iranian government or in collaboration with them.
Now, taking that into consideration, the Houthis seem to be very defiant despite heavy Israeli air raids inflicting major damage to infrastructure. Is there anything that can force them to change course, you think?
Well, this is a group that is enjoying support, enjoying visibility, enjoying international recognition and regional recognition that this conflict since 2023 has provided them with. Of course, they had a long track record of fighting and being involved in various conflicts with other regional actors domestically as well. But this particular episode has given them a very particular international recognition, which domestically has also boosted their gravitas domestically inside Yemen. So they are expected to continue so long as they receive the required support. I think what ultimately they really want is to continue enjoying this recognition and this domestic power that is providing them with.
Now, can you help us understand the nature of the relationship between Iran and the Houthis? How much say does Tehran have on decisions made by the Houthis in Yemen?
Especially since the crisis in 2023 started, this question of whether Houthis are so-called proxies of Iran or not has been really debated extensively amongst the policymakers and analysts and academics as well. What I usually say in answer to that question is that let's assume that Iran puts a demand on the table, shares a request with the Houthis, and provides support with them. Under what circumstances would the Houthis say no? And I find really difficult to imagine an answer to that question. So for that reason, I always feel and I always, in my work and in my presentations, I always emphasize on this point that yes, Houthis have their own domestic agenda. But at the same time, once they see an alignment with the aims and the strategic advancements and strategic goals that Iran is pursuing across the region, then there is no reason for them not to want to cooperate. How far are they willing to go? I would say as long as the money and ammunition comes through. Ideologically, a lot of people have argued that, these are different types of Shias. They don't have the same concept, theological framework as the Iranian government has. But ultimately, the group that is now in the leadership, the family members, the brothers, the parts of the tribe that are forming the senior decision-making leadership in Ansarullah or Houthis in Yemen are very close to Iran. Most of them have frequently traveled to Iran. Most of them have a special respect and a special bond and relationship at personal level with senior Iranian political and strategic decision-makers. So I don't really think that there would be a divergence anytime soon.
Sarah Bazubandi there, thank you very much for sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says Kyiv is aiming to secure at least $1 billion per month from allies to purchase US weapons for its war effort against Russia. His comments come as Germany's Vice-Chancellor Lars Klingbeil visits Kyiv to discuss security guarantees in the event of a peace deal with Moscow. Klingbeil, who is also Germany's finance minister, says Germany will take part in providing these guarantees alongside European partners, but that talks are at an early stage and must be shaped by Kyiv. For more, I'm now joined by our political correspondent, Julia Saudeli, here in Berlin. Julia, what can Klingbeil potentially offer to the Ukrainians?
Well, his visit seems to be part of a joint effort coming from Germany, but also its other partners in Europe after the meeting we saw a few days ago between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. And this is an effort aimed at trying to already set out what these security guarantees might be for Ukraine so that Ukraine and its partners are ready to enter possible negotiations towards a peace in Ukraine. And this is something that Klingbeil said again today in Kyiv, that it is necessary that Ukraine receives these security guarantees. But Klingbeil didn't specify exactly what these would be. What he did do is he said that he was ready to discuss with Ukraine what Germany can do also in terms of working to support Ukraine after an end to the war is reached, how it can help Ukraine rebuild and reconstruct, but also how it can help Ukraine pave the path towards an accession to the EU. But also, as you said, Klingbeil is Germany's finance minister, and he is the one who also helps decide on providing financial assistance to Ukraine. So obviously that might also likely be an element of discussion today in Kyiv.
Now, we always talk about security guarantees. I mean, in effect, it means peacekeeping forces, for example, after the war has come to an end. Is Germany willing to send German soldiers to Ukraine?
Well, there has been a big debate in Germany over the last week on this exact issue, and it still remains quite open what Germany might be willing to do. We heard from Germany's foreign minister, Johann Wadefuhl, from the Conservatives, who said he is quite skeptical about sending German troops in a peacekeeping mission to Ukraine, also because there are concerns as to whether Germany would be able to provide these troops, given that its own defense situation isn't quite that great. Germany would need to stock up its military to be able to provide troops to a peacekeeping mission like this. But we also heard from the CDU's, the Conservatives' partners in the government, the party of Finance Minister Klingbeil, the Social Democrats. They also think that talking about a peacekeeping mission in Ukraine would be a further step in working towards a peace, and that first we need to get to the point where is agreed upon. So not any concrete commitments to a peacekeeping mission there in Germany.
Now, Norway's Prime Minister happens to be in Ukraine as well today. Norway and Germany are working together to strengthen Ukrainian air defenses. What's behind this partnership?
Yeah, so Germany a few weeks ago announced it would be delivering 2 of its Patriot air defense systems to Ukraine. And we have now the confirmation that Norway has stepped in to also contribute financially to replacing these 2 systems, which Germany is now delivering from its own stock. But Germany has been put on the top of the list by the U.S. manufacturer of Patriots to receive 2 new systems in exchange. And that is what Norway is contributing to. We've heard that there's going to be cooperation on delivering other weapon systems, both from German and Norwegian manufacturers. So this seems to be shaping up as quite a bilateral partnership in terms of delivering the weapons to Ukraine, which could also play out in the future when it comes to providing security guarantees to the country.
DW's political correspondent Julia Saudeli there reporting from Berlin. Thank you very much, Julia. Typhoon Kajiki has made landfall in Vietnam. Authorities have shut down airports, closed schools and begun mass evacuations. The country is already reeling from a series of powerful storms that triggered flooding and landslides. Kajiki arrives in Vietnam after battering southern China with destructive winds and torrential rain.
These firefighters in China are battling the clock. Fierce winds have flipped this truck, trapping its driver inside. But rescuers managed to pull him out. Just in time. On the coast, the storm's fury is unrelenting. Fishing boats are being tossed around like toys by Typhoon Kajiki. The storm has unleashed torrential rains and punishing winds across China's southern shores. Flights are grounded, while seaside towns are reeling from flood damage. Authorities are urging people in vulnerable areas to seek higher ground until further notice.
Our precautionary measures focus on ensuring the safety of fishing vessels and the harbours they have returned to, as well as strengthening flood and wind prevention efforts in cities and southeastern region. Some marine tourism activities have been suspended, especially those on islands and reefs. We will also advise tourists against engaging in any sea-based activities to avoid potential dangers when the typhoon approaches.
This where the radar graphic shows Kajiki barreling toward Vietnam. It's already the 5th typhoon to hit the country this year. Vietnam is already on edge. This year alone, storms and floods have claimed over 100 lives and left many more missing. The Southeast Asian country has suffered millions in losses. and the warnings are clear. Climate change is supercharging storms, making them stronger, wetter, and more unpredictable. For those in the tropics, that means the next disaster is never far away.
Now, the freelance journalist Michael Tatarski joins us now from Ho Chi Minh City. He is the author of the Vietnam Weekly newsletter. Michael, just describe to us, what does life look like in Vietnam today?
So here in southern Vietnam, things are relatively calm, though there have been some storms here and there from the outer bands of Kajiki. But in north central Vietnam, it's been raining heavily basically this entire day as the storm has approached. There's reports that some mountain communities are already isolated by flooding. And unfortunately, it will probably continue to rain heavily the rest of the night, potentially through tomorrow. I think the storm has only just made landslide. It appears that it kind of stalled off the coast. It was expected to make landslide several hours ago. So that's bad news for even more rainfall in these areas where highways have been closed and 2 airports have been closed. And in some cities, people have been told to stay home until the storm passes.
Now, you've mentioned that the area mostly affected so far has been the north. What other areas will be affected?
It looks like it'll be the stretch between Da Nang and Hoi An for the most part. Unfortunately, some of these areas just were hit by Storm Wipa about a month ago, which caused pretty severe flooding in many areas and killed 7 people as well. But these storms can sometimes create multi-day rain events even after the worst of the wind has passed through. So that's what areas we'll be looking out for as Kajiki moves further inland.
Now, tens of thousands of people were apparently already brought to safety. What do you think? How effective has Vietnam's emergency response been so far?
So these coastal areas, unfortunately, get hit repeatedly on an annual basis by storms. So the government and local communities, are pretty well versed in terms of moving people out of way, getting ships to shore, again, shutting down airports as needed, closing schools. The school year actually just started this week, so it's particularly bad timing. The storm did come across the EC quite quickly, but there were still a few days of advance notice. So along the coast, preparations are usually quite good. It is more difficult in the mountainous areas. Some areas are quite remote. It's very rugged terrain, so those areas can be more difficult to get preparations in place for.
Now, what kind of damage can we expect from this typhoon? Is it more going to be damage down to the strong wind, or is it floods?
Flooding pretty much always is the main risk with storms here. The storm did weaken a little bit before it made landfall. So, I mean, of course, there will be some wind damage, but really it's this intense rainfall, again, especially in the mountainous areas. And then as it flows downstream through the rivers, there's many rivers in this country. So that can be dangerous. And then there's also risks often with hydropower reservoirs potentially overflowing, and then they need to release water through the dams, which can exacerbate downstream flooding. So it will certainly be rain and flooding will be the primary risk here. Landslides related to that.
Now, this is the 5th typhoon hitting Vietnam this year alone. Are there any lessons learned from past typhoons that are being applied now?
Mountainous areas, towns and villages are being more diligent about evacuating in advance. About a year ago, Typhoon Yagi hit northern Vietnam, and that was the strongest typhoon to hit the country in 70 years. Some entire villages were basically wiped out. It killed over 300 people. So that was quite a shock and a huge lesson. So I think in the mountainous areas, again, which I've mentioned a few times now, but they're being more diligent about moving people out of areas where landslides may occur.
Now, what can be the long-term implications now of more frequent and intense typhoons for Vietnam's coastal infrastructure and agriculture?
Yeah, this is a huge concern for Vietnam. It's routinely named among the most vulnerable countries in the world to climate change. There's also the risk that in the future storms will maybe push further south towards Ho Chi Minh City, for example. This part of the country is usually rarely hit, but if these paths were to change in the future, the potential economic damage in industrial or more, economically larger parts of the country could be vast, and even for North Central, it is unfortunately they get hit again frequently. So agriculture is kind of routinely under threat. So a big concern moving forward for Vietnam.
Thank you very much, the journalist Michael Tatarski there reporting from Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam.
Thanks.
And that's it from me and the news team for now. I'll have an update for you at the top of the hour. Thanks for watching.
They call for strength, yet it does not answer. The Machangara River is sick, poisoned, gasping for life. Ecuador gave nature legal rights, but the river still cries out to reclaim its voice. The Kitukara people, together with scientists, are fighting to revive it.
Global Us. Next on DW. You want some superpower? Here we go.
Laughter's just such a strange behaviour. It's everywhere. It happens all the time.
How humour makes us strong.
C'est le deuxième cancer. 2 fois de suite, par l'environnement, le rire, l'humour, je suis guéri.
Superpower laughter. In 45 minutes on DW.
If you like history, but with a side of culture, travel, and controversy, this one's for you. I'm Rachel Stewart, and I'm hosting a podcast that will put the wow factor back into your everyday life. Every day, we encounter so many things that we don't even notice anymore. They just kind of fade into the background. But if you stop and shine a spotlight on them, what you see might just surprise you. We're going to dig up the dirt on the everyday things around us. Where did they come from? How and why did they evolve over time? And why should we care? Just search for Don't Drink the Milk wherever you listen to podcasts.
Where to put all that plastic? Production has been rising for decades, but waste management is falling behind and the environment is suffering. A UN initiative to halt the crisis has so far failed. 180 countries could not reach an agreement. Oil-producing countries especially, which profit from the raw material used in plastic production, blocked stricter regulations.
In 2023, we produced a staggering 413.8 million metric tons of plastic, a figure that has more than doubled over the past 2 decades. All this uncompressed plastic could fill up more than 500,000 Olympic swimming pools. And the problem is only getting worse.
The projections are for plastic production to double within the next 20 years, which means tripling of plastic pollution.
The biggest culprit? Packaging. it accounts for nearly 40% of all plastic use. Think plastic bottles, snack wrappers, delivery bags. Fashion is another major offender. Synthetic fibers like polyester shed microplastics every time we wash our clothes.
Polymers can be detected in the blood and in tissue. There are studies that clearly show that plastic accumulates in organs, including in humans. There are publications suggesting that, for example, significantly more plastic accumulates in the brain than in the kidneys and liver.
Another big concern for human health is additional chemicals. But we'll come back to that later. So, if the problem with plastic production is so clear, why aren't companies doing more to fight it? The truth is, for many brands, plastic is simply cheap, lightweight, and profitable. It protects products, extends shelf life, and cuts shipping costs. Changing that system would mean investing in new materials, redesigning supply chains, and potentially earning less.
So as long as they have the freedom to choose, they usually go with the easiest way, which is just using single-use plastic on and on and on.
There are also many products that simply wouldn't be feasible without plastics, especially in energy generation. Think of wind turbines. We can no longer do without plastics there. And that's because plastics are also so lightweight. That means everything in transportation that is focused on lightweight construction relies on plastics.
So, if we need plastics for certain industries, what's the solution? Can't we just recycle it? Well, at first glance, recycling plastic seems simple. Just toss it into the right bin, and it gets turned into something new, right? In reality, it's a lot more complicated. That's because there are thousands of different plastic formulations, and some can't easily be returned to their original state by melting them. Like thermosets, plastics made out of tightly cross-linked polymers, large molecules, which are the basic structure of most plastics.
That means there are chemical bonds between the polymer chains, and that means recycling doesn't really work here in the mechanical sense.
But those are usually the types of plastics that are most robust, durable, and heat-resistant, which is why they are used in aerospace, electronics, and automobiles. The next issue is that there are often chemical additives to make plastic more flexible, resistant, stronger, or even cheaper to produce.
Just in the past 10 years, the number of additives that have been invented and used has increased drastically. And I think that what we don't really realize is the fact that we have almost created this sort of monster that we don't fully control anymore. And as a result of this complexity comes the difficulty of treating it at the end of its life.
Some types, like PET used in drinking bottles and HDPE used in detergent bottles, can be more easily recycled. But often they don't make it. If they're contaminated with food, mixed with other types of plastic, or not collected properly, they're rejected and sent to landfill or incinerators. And then there are all these products made of multiple layers, like chip bags or coffee pots, combining plastic with aluminum or paper. These composite materials are nearly impossible to separate, and most recycling plants can't process them at all.
Instead of just focusing on recycling and saying this will solve the plastic crisis, we actually need to reduce the production in the long term.
How though? Let's look at some solutions. The obvious answer would be to find alternatives to replace plastics altogether. Think stainless steel or glass. But it is a huge challenge and could have potential impacts for the climate.
For example, moving from plastic to paper might actually reduce plastic leakage, but there are also other consequences in terms of biodiversity, water usage, in terms of utilization of soil, etc.
Plastics have a very good CO2 balance compared to other materials, simply because they can be produced at lower temperatures and are also very easily moldable. So, without plastics, we won't be able to meet our climate goals as a modern society.
So, if we still need plastic, experts say we have to rethink the way we recycle it. And some are already finding new ways to turn even the most difficult to recycle waste into something useful.
The journey for us started at that point where we were saying, what do people mean when they say this is not recyclable? But what if we could remanufacture completely different products out of it?
Veena Sashwala challenges the notion that every product must come back in the exact same form when being recycled. She is pioneering microfactories in Australia. Compact modular processing units that transform mixed waste, like electronics, which are usually difficult to recycle, into valuable new materials. The idea is to use this valuable new material for remanufacturing right at the source.
So, for example, our microfactory is located in the warehouse where our industry partner is basically now taking that plastic and producing these plastic filaments right there in the warehouse itself, in Sydney.
And just like that, a piece that's needed to fix a broken computer or printer, for instance, can be created right there in 3D printers from recycled plastic.
So let's not say the problem is with the raw material. Let's talk about how we can design and redesign our manufacturing process.
Recycling alone cannot solve the plastics crisis, though, as long as we keep producing more and more plastic. That's why policy matters too. What's really needed, according to experts, is effective regulation.
We need global rules. We need rules that actually apply to every country. And even businesses are asking for those global rules.
So, what kind of regulations should countries agree on and implement to cap plastic production?
There needs to be policies like polluter pay principles, like extended producer responsibility that are implemented.
That means companies are held accountable for the full life cycle of their packaging, not just selling it. After all, experts say these big companies helped create the plastic crisis, and they have a responsibility to redesign packaging, cut down on single-use plastics, and invest in real reuse systems. Until they do, the plastic problem will only keep growing, no matter how well we sort our trash. Because in the end, plastic doesn't just disappear. It just gets passed along to the environment, to our bodies, and to future generations.
Tons of plastic are floating in the world's oceans, driven by currents, some of it creating huge islands of waste. Bottles, nets, bags, car parts, remnants of our consumption. A problem we've been aware of for decades, and yet it continues to grow year after year. One person refuses to accept that.
My name is Boyan Slat, and I'm the founder and CEO at the Ocean Cleanup, where our mission is to rid the world's oceans of plastic.
The idea came to him when he was 16, on vacation in Greece. While diving, he discovered more trash than fish. A moment of sadness for many, perhaps, but for Boyan Slat, it was the starting signal for his mission. 2 years later, at just 18 years old, he founded the Ocean Cleanup. His vision? To solve the problem with technology. 12 years have passed since then. It's a mammoth task.
So our approach is twofold. So on one hand, we intercept plastic before it reaches the oceans. And on the other hand, we also clean up the legacy pollution that's already in the ocean.
They collect trash far out to sea using gigantic nets. Taking advantage of ocean currents, they gather plastic waste, like in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. This enormous vortex between Hawaii and California is 3 times the size of France. It contains an estimated 1.8 trillion pieces of plastic, weighing 100,000 tons, or 10 times the weight of the Eiffel Tower.
What we focus on is getting all the larger stuff out and preventing the larger stuff from going in before it has turned into microplastic. So, and ultimately, we think we can get to a 90% reduction in the amount of plastic in the ocean in the next decade or so.
But Slat doesn't just want to get rid of what's already in the ocean. Over 80% of plastic enters the sea via rivers, so he's focusing his efforts there too. His so-called interceptors are huge barriers designed to prevent plastic from drifting into the sea.
It's the quick fix that we need to avoid the ocean from filling up with plastic in the next few decades.
They are now used in 9 countries, from Central America to Southeast Asia. The NGO is an important player in the effort to rid the world's oceans of plastic. But, as Ben Boteler from the Potsdam Institute for Sustainability Research stresses, the problem does not begin in the ocean.
I think it's important that we have projects like the ocean cleanup or beach cleaning that address plastic that's entering into the ocean, but projects like this alone, I don't think will be sufficient to address the challenge in its entirety, and that's why we really need a solution, or we need multiple solutions that address plastic from the entire life cycle.
One approach comes from the NGO San Amare. They organize cleanups in the Global South and ensure that waste pickers are fairly compensated. Every day, 15 million people worldwide collect trash. They make an enormous contribution to society and environmental protection. The 90 million tons that are removed from nature and don't end up in the sea are not a drop in the ocean, but a decisive factor. San Amare supports these people and makes their potential visible. Lukas Schmitz is convinced that the plastic crisis could be solved if we involve the informal sector. This sector puts 59% of the material recycled worldwide back into the economy. How can we see these people as part of the solution and integrate them into the system? Because right now they're not really integrated. They're just doing what they have to do in order to survive. Cleaning up the oceans begins on land. Removing the plastic that is already there is not enough. For Ben Boteler, one thing is clear. The solution can only lie in a holistic approach.
Ultimately, what we need, though, is a multitude of solutions which tackle the plastics problem from all angles, so also from production, from use, disposal, recycling, to work hand in hand with projects like the Ocean Cleanup Project.
That's an issue for Bojan Slat's team too. What should be done with all the plastic that's been collected to keep it from ending up back in the environment?
Where we can, we apply recycling, and especially, of course, the plastic that we take out of the middle of the ocean, because it's actually the best quality plastic we catch. We actually are able to recycle almost all of that. In rivers, though, very often the quality is too poor, and the plastic is too polluted to recycle it all. So there, very often you are dependent on landfills. We believe, however, that plastic being safely contained under the ground is, 1,000,000 times better than it killing marine life on a coral reef.
Plastic in the oceans doesn't disappear on its own. Organizations like the Ocean Cleanup are removing more and more of it, but the problem isn't solved yet. Only when plastic is used more sustainably and recycled as much as possible will the burden on our oceans truly begin to ease.
For us, nature is more than just a legal recognition as a legal entity. It is a living being. When I arrived for the first time in Quito with my dad, I saw a river that was very different from the rivers I had seen as a child in my community. One day soon, friends will go down there with their children, visit the Machangara, and bathe in the river. The veins of planet Earth are called rivers, and so we ask you for strength and clarity for us, for the people of Kitukara. This fight for the water of the main river that flows through Quito is a wake-up call.
Can nature have rights? And who defines them?
I am president of the Kitukara people, a member of La Toksha, a poet and an anthropologist. I am Dario Isa Palinkinga, and I want to save the Pachamama. This is my story.